just like I promised to you guys today, we have a very special live stream with a very special guest, mi amiga, that I have met a few times already, several times here while I'm in the Philippines, Tita Lavinia. And we have prepared a special episode for you guys to talk about everything Miss Universe. As you know, the competition is officially on the way. We are already several days into the concentration, and there's so many things going on that we are excited to share our thoughts with you guys, and at the same time, of course, take some of your questions and make this a fun experience. But that's enough of the blah blah, you know. So I'm just gonna bring the main guest today. Please give it up for Tita Lavinia.
Hello,
Oh,
good evening, guys. Good evening, Louise. Thank you so much for having me. It wouldn't
of
be complete
course.
this Miss Universe season if we don't get to do this or
I know,
talk
right?
about Miss Universe. Good evening, guys.
One of the most controversial collaborations, but one
I
of the most waited.
know. I know. Even more so, you're now certified Filipino vlogger because you're now part of the Chi multiverse.
Hmm, to say the least. Yes,
Yes,
absolutely. So, Tita, first of all, thank you for accepting to be here.
of
It's always a
course.
pleasure to have you with us, and I'm excited to talk to you. Just want to say hello, real quick, to everyone who has joined us already. We have 250 people watching
Wow.
us in the first few moments. So, we have here Frank, Jen, Adrian, Jomar, Ashley. Thank you everyone for joining us. Suba, SF, you guys are amazing. And
Oh,
as I said, this is going to be very interactive. So any questions that you might have, just send it in the chat and let's make this a fun one. So, Tita, how are you feeling with the entire Miss Universe thing going on? I know that for the vloggers, it's not the same experience as for the viewers. So, how are you handling everything?
this is a fiesta. I mean, I'm super happy. I'm super happy covering Miss Universe this year. I didn't think I'd be into it. I
Mhm.
didn't think it would be like, I mean, I knew it would be like a fiesta atmosphere. I've already planned on doing like a 10-day blitzkrieg coverage for my viewers at my channel. But
Yeah.
for me personally, I didn't think that I would be like so into it. I would sleep in between like 2 hours, set my alarm, and then check Instagram. And it's fun because even my boyfriend understands like we have a system now. He brings me the drinks and he gets everything in order, like my tissues and everything. So I don't know. This is a really, really good practice this year. I'm really happy to cover it this year.
Yes, absolutely. I just honestly, I just admire you on how you handle everything because you just go live and you have like this ability to talk to the audience that I really struggle with. So I have to do everything pre-recorded and I, edit the hell out of it.
I
So
did
Miss
that
Universe is so
before. I
hectic.
mean, I did that during Rabia's time. Like during Rabia's time, it was a mix. I would um do like regular episodes and then I would do like lives in between. During Bea's time, I started doing more live. So this time, I wanted to be like more interactive. I wanted to be like more real time with our conversation. So I said,
Yeah.
scrap the editing. I'm gonna do live every day, and then of course I'm gonna sit down and then assess everything right after the competition and give you guys the regular, the good, the bad, and the ugly review.
Yes, absolutely. And that's one of the things about Miss Universe. When we get too much, when we get really, really into it, we get with our opinions. The feedback from the audience can be sometimes very, can change a
Yeah,
lot depending on their perspective. So how do
that
you
is
how are
true.
you handling all of that? The pressure.
You know what? This isn't my first rodeo. Now I
Mhm.
understand because right now I'm having like arguments left and right and like things being thrown at me. But
Yeah.
even my mother, I remember my mother was so very upset with there was this admin who edited my face in front of
Mhm.
like a comic character that had snakes. She's called Valentina. My mother was just so crazy upset about it. And I was like, Mama, don't be upset about it. It's Miss Universe. So I always, always remind my mother. I remind my boyfriend who also checks on like the comment section. don't get sucked into this. A lot of people would message me, Tita, are you okay? I mean, you're getting a lot of bashers. You're getting a lot of this and that. And I said, it's okay. It's Miss Universe. I mean, it's part of it. And maybe they don't understand that it doesn't hit me that much because I
Mhm.
absolutely understand that this is uh, part of the situation. It's like a sporting event when, two teams clash and you have very passionate fans. I definitely understand this, so don't worry, guys. I'm all covered.
It's all good. Yes, I remember like my first year covering Miss Universe. I would cry based in the comments. I would,
Try talaga.
I would cry, and now it's like I just read it, go through it. I just have a good laugh, but it's fun. That's also part of the fun. Interacting with
Yeah.
everyone, and if you're able to distance yourself from the comments, you have a good time with it.
Well, it's always good advice to distance yourself, but I don't know. Lately, I'm like in there. I'm on ground zero, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe because I'm just way too happy covering this to get sucked into that negativity. It's just that I wake up or don't sleep at all. But I do know that I'm happy. So
Yes,
this is my thing.
absolutely.
This is my, like, the pinnacle of my social calendar.
We thrive in this situation.
Yes, yes.
So let me ask you, Tita, this year, so it's kind of like I don't know if you shared this or the same sentiment, but for me, it's kind of a hybrid, Miss Universe edition because we're in the transition period between IMG and JKN. So in a lot of ways, I feel like this edition is different from previous ones. So
Yes.
overall, without me influencing you too much, how do you feel about what you have seen so far of the pageant?
Well, you know what? Because JKN has been throwing in a lot of funding, a lot of money into this, I
Mhm.
feel like some of the activities are a little more clipped. And maybe because the first part of the planning was done under the previous management. I remember taking a bath this afternoon and like thinking to myself, why are the activities sort of turning into Georgia altogether? It's like I'm not really feeling a lot of New Orleans there, and then a lot of them just delved into rehearsals. So I'm
Mm,
I'm missing a little bit of that Louisiana flavor. I mean, they didn't really get to go around. Even Celeste has been staying in the venue for like the longest time. I haven't really seen her out, but for me, this is just pretty minor. I'm looking at everything. The hotel looks really swanky. I'm looking at like the teams and how they would set up their stations. I mean, I don't think that they're not being taken care of. So for
yeah,
me, as long as there's funding there and as long as they're being well taken care of, I'm good
yeah.
with it. Maybe I'm just really waiting for a little more of that spark. I thought we'd get that yesterday when they had
Mhm.
that what do you call that, the dinner thing
Yeah.
with all the girls in like pretty dresses, and I just couldn't help remembering how it was in the Philippines. In the Philippines, when we had it in 2017, in January of 2017, for the 2016 edition, the production itself wasn't as spectacular, but I do remember the pre pageant activities were like so fantastic. Even the counterpart of the dinner that they had yesterday, which was in the Philippines, like a governor's ball of some sort, where everyone was
Mhm.
dressed to the nines. I mean, that looked like a Hollywood event. And I was kind of waiting for
Yeah.
that just a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel you. I don't know, maybe it's because I discovered even Miss Universe just during 2020, during the pandemic. That was the first edition that I witnessed like in real time. I remember that year, maybe because it was the pandemic, they were giving us so much content. We had like video introductions of the
Oh,
girls,
yeah.
and then we had like videos of them like talking about their advocacies and stuff. And then there was like a bunch of shoots, and I feel like they were trying to go above and beyond to compensate with maybe the things that they were lacking that they couldn't provide like in a physical pageant. So the pre-activities were for me more entertaining to follow, I guess. And I had the feeling last year, I even made a video about it, that Miss Universe felt a little like lackluster. And this year I have even more the same feeling because, as you said, I don't feel like I have seen anything from New Orleans other than the Mardi Gras parade that they had. um and I saw like Paula Sugar like commenting on her Instagram, like putting like hashtag visit New Orleans, and I'm like, girl, but you haven't shown me anything that will want me
I
will make me want
I
to go
mean,
there.
that's absolutely true. I mean, they went to a restaurant, but I really couldn't get like what was the food like. I mean, unlike when they were doing that in Thailand, they were having like cooking classes and like
Yeah,
tasting activities. So I don't know. Maybe I just wanted more, but this is me nitpicking only because I
yeah.
know that there's someone out there who's like willing to, fund everything.
Correct, correct. And one of the things that was talked about is the entire production for the event. So Anne just had like an interview where she talked about, investing over like $8 million into the
Hmm.
production. Let me ask you, do you think it's gonna be for this year or for next year that they're investing that amount? Because I'm like wondering where did the money go?
Um, I think this year. I think this
Mhm.
year. I think that she has already planned, or is at least in the first stages of planning the events for the succeeding years. But for this year, I think Anne is really pouring a lot of her energies into that final show. I'd like to
Mhm.
think that, everything else is a little more low key because everything is being poured into the final show. We've
Yeah,
seen snippets of the stage. I'm glad the stage isn't on the side, that it's, facing towards the audience, because that Georgia stage, that was really bizarre for me. The
yeah.
orientation of that stage, I don't want that to happen anymore. But I'm looking at, some snippets that are out there on social media. It seems really
Mhm.
promising. They were polishing the floors. I mean, anytime you give me like a black mirrored floor, I'm like all for it, because that's something we never get. No, not naman never. We don't get at, Binibining
Yeah,
Pilipinas or any of the pageants that I really follow here. So I'm not really like being nitpicky with the stage and the
yeah.
production and everything right now,
Hmm.
because I do know that if she is bringing in the team who worked this one out in 2018, we've had
Yeah,
advances in technology from 2018 to 2022. So I'm really excited. If the goal is to beat Uncle Nawat's hyper HD production, then
who?
I think they're in
I
the
just
right track.
yeah, I agree with you. I'm still gonna give them like I still have hope for the
Yeah.
finals, and I think that I mean we experienced it. You and I at Mutiang Pilipinas, they can do a lot in post production,
Oh yeah, guys,
So why wouldn't they do it?
let me just give you like a little bit of context on that, because Luis and I, we sat together for the Mutianang Pilipinas finals, and that was held at a small venue. It was in a San Juan arena. But
Mhm.
I remember Luis and I, we were both blown away because the venue was rather small, but they made the stage like really fantastic with the lights, the LED lights going up. So it really utilized like the height of the venue, not really like how large the venue was, but it was just so glossy looking. It looked really
Mhm.
nice. It did have like technical difficulties, yes, but at face
Yeah,
value, I remember we were both awed by the way they arranged the stage. So I'm really hoping to see like more of that this year for Miss Universe.
yeah, I agree. Let's wait and see. But in all cases, I'm super excited, and I just feel like the next edition is going to be like the first time that we actually get to see like the real vision of JKN for Miss Universe, because this year's was like a an afterthought.
Maybe this is
Um,
like a dry run for what's gonna happen, because once these pageants go back to Asia,
mhm.
it's gonna be like
Yes,
super crazy.
this is why I need to move here.
Haven't you moved here already? I mean, isn't that like the arrangement
Hmm.
now?
Well,
Well, every time I
um,
ask you, Luis, are you available? Yes, I am. Oh, you're here.
always still in Makati. Let me ask you, Tita, because also they announced the hosts for the event, not only the host for the show, but also the behind the scenes, like the commentary, pretty much. How do we feel about Olivia, Ginny May, Catriona Gray, and Zuri Hall? being part of the whole
Happy.
season.
I'm really happy about these girls. I mean, I want to start with Olivia Culpo. You know what? She's absolutely eye candy.
Mm,
She can bring a lot of people to the table. She's an influencer. She's aware. I mean, she's absolutely aware of what people have been telling her, what people have been
yeah.
saying about her. She even reposted like a TikTok meme of her and her famous or infamous Red Bull reference. So I'm pretty sure that she understands what is expected of her in this edition. Anne is
Mhm,
very discerning. I mean, I'm sure she wouldn't want to disappoint Anne as well. And I'm sure that she, you know, she's doing everything that she can to prepare for this. And I suppose everyone is entitled for, I don't know, a redemption story. So if she can do like a really good job this year, I
mhm,
mean, we're good to go. I mean, we have room to improve. Jeannie Mai, I am super happy about this because as you know, one of the like older pageant fans out there, Jeannie Mai is really dear to us. Jeannie Mai is someone we wait for every year, and then she had a little bit of a break in between. So I'm really glad that she's back. A lot of Jeannie Mai's lines have become super iconic for us. Like every time
mhm,
we see yellow, we always say yellow is the color of joy, and you know, thanks to Jeannie Mai for that. I'm not quite sure about the other lady, but I'm sure she'll do a great job. But as for Catriona Gray, this is bragging rights for us. We are so happy for Kat to have like more interaction with Miss Universe, because if you
mhm,
guys are not in the loop for quite some time, there have been talks that maybe Kat might have distanced herself from Miss Universe, or that she might have done her like, you know, thing outside of that Miss Universe sphere. So whatever that is, I'm just so happy she's back. And if you're sore that Kat is only at the backstage, I mean, you don't really have to worry about this, guys. I read somewhere that they couldn't get Kat to be the main host because the production, or I don't know, maybe the working laws out there requires the host to be an American citizen, something to that effect. I don't know if that's true, but
oh,
what I'm just
okay.
saying is that if Kat does really well, and I'm sure she will, there might be a possibility of seeing more of Kat in the next edition. Maybe
Mhm.
become a main host in the next coming editions once it's held in Asia.
Yes, absolutely. I think that this is just the beginning,
I
and
know.
eventually we'll see more of them.
Yeah.
Me too. I'm super excited for Olivia. As you said, I mean, like I've seen the memes. I laughed with them, um, but I think that she's aware of everything that happened back then. So I think that she will bring her A game, her energy,
Yeah.
all the Red Bulls. She's gonna drink them all, and it's gonna be fun. I actually used to watch Jenny all the time on her show The Real. So I was a big fan of The Real. I would always catch up, and she always has like that very well, no pun intended, very real attitude, very
Mm-mm.
likable, approachable. So it's gonna be a fun show. Catriona, of course, I mean, Catriona is
Come
great,
on.
but we have already
I
seen her
know.
host at Binibini
I know.
Pilipinas,
Yeah.
so we know what to expect. And Zuri Hall, I was watching some of her clips as well during Miss USA as well. So it's gonna be my first time actually watching her host, but she looks very promising. I'm sure that all of the
Yeah.
pageant fans already know her. It's just me, the newbie. So yes. Now, in terms of the ladies, how do we feel so far this edition? Um, I'll just give you shortly like my perception so far, but I feel like this
Uh-huh.
year is gonna be a bloodbath. We have so many amazing, amazing, amazing candidates that I think that we could get easily like five Miss Universes out of this batch of girls. How do you feel?
You know what? Before arrival, when I was covering these girls and they were on social media, of course we would have like our picks. And I particularly remember that the first 2 days I was just so underwhelmed with the quality of
Hmm.
girls. I don't know what happened. I kept on saying on my live session, this is the most beautiful batch. But when I saw them arrive, and I don't know, I was just underwhelmed. In the Philippines, we call it budol, or like being scammed into something. And I'm glad that, after a few days, a lot of their fashion senses have calmed down because everyone was just
Mhm,
so theatrical, and maybe it had something to do with the pandemic. Maybe now everybody is like really into, I'm gonna show fashion, I'm gonna put everything out there. Even Arbany, one of my favorites in the competition, would frequently be featured on the Titas of Pageantry page because of
mhm,
the fashion looks that she would serve. And there would be like a huge question mark, with us thinking, where are these looks coming from? So the first few days was just a little chaotic, just trying to weed out the girls who just didn't seem to look the same way as they were presenting themselves on social media. But now that we have seen them more interact with each other, with rehearsals and getting more exposure from
mhm,
media, now we can finally pick girls who seem to do really, really well.
mm. Yes, I
It
agree
was
with you.
rough for a
I don't
while though.
know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if it was like a strategy or something, but this year, a lot of the girls were playing it really, really safe in the beginning, or they didn't showcase as much of the fashion or the looks. For example, like I feel like Celeste was one of the first ones who did it. Just showed up at the airport, in a hoodie and sweatpants, and people were going crazy, like what the, you know.
Yeah.
But then like a bunch of the other girls were also having the same approach, almost no makeup, very minimalistic. But then once the competition started, I mean, we saw Celeste going from like sweatpants and hoodies to no makeup in LA to suddenly like the red look
I
at the airport.
know.
So it was like game on. Do you think that might be like a trend going forward in Miss Universe, or that we might see more of these natural looks in the future?
Well, you know what? When Celeste did that, and of course it was talked about,
Yeah.
I felt that some of the ladies also tried to go by that same route.
Hmm.
But sometimes you just have to recognize there are faces that are made for the no makeup look, and there are those who
Hmm.
just need a little bit of a push. So if I were to drop names, one of the ladies who I got a little disappointed with because I felt that we were going to get eaten alive by this one was Miss Peru, for example. So Miss Peru, I remember when I started seeing her the first few days, I was just a little disappointed because I don't know if she was going into that disheveled, I just got out of bed look, or if that was really, who she was. So I haven't been really like, keen on Miss Peru up until I saw her again at the parade with her red lipstick, which now makes me think, you know what, she still has the goods. She just has to make firm decisions with styling. Because if she's really going to push for that um, athletic type of statuas, I just, came out of the beach sort of thing, it just kind of doesn't work because New Orleans now is so cold. The beachy look just looks disjointed with that, with the layers of like coat and
Hmm.
garment. So if she can just go back to a little bit of that vibrant color, I think
Mm.
we would all be like even be more convinced that she's deserving of that place. So it's kind of the same with the other girls. Like the other girls would play up with their makeup and not be like too aggressive with their makeup, but sometimes they would appear a little washed out. And this is the same. I know that we have Indonesian what do you call this? Commenters here. So
Hmm.
that was also my same observation with Lakshmi because I remember when she first arrived, she went for something that was a little more fresh, something lighter. But there are some girls that needs more saturation with makeup apparently.
Yes, yes, I agree. I remember, I mean, just to follow up on your comment about Alessia, about Peru, I felt the same way. And actually, the moment that I saw kind of like gain back that hope in her was at the parade when I saw her with the red lips, the makeup, the hair, the entire like national costume. Which I don't know if it's like all of the elements were there of the national costume or just like some parts of it, because some of the girls did mention that they were like walking on the street. Sometimes they cannot carry everything with them,
Right.
but
So
she
maybe
looked.
some components were removed. Yeah.
Yes, when I saw her, I was like, Miss Peru right there. That's Miss Universe. But as you said, like some of the other looks, they were very toned down. Maybe because um, I don't know, but Alessia is a known personality in Latin America, and like in Peru at least. So she already has like that celebrity, vibe. She already has that grand. Like when she was like taking some of the photos, I truly just felt like she was walking the red carpet. So I was wondering, to what extent did she really adapt to Miss Universe competition, or I'm just going as Alessia representing Peru, So yes, I actually you mentioned in Indonesia as well. I was surprised with Indonesia because so far most of the things that I saw from Laxmi were really like her conversations, like she had the talks with the organization on their YouTube channel. She was going live sometimes, and of course the things that the fans share. But I think that I was not seeing as much of her personality, charisma. I was getting the looks and the conversations, and I thought she's beautiful and she's smart. But when she got there actually, I started seeing some of the videos, and the first thing that I saw from Lakme related to Miss Universe in New Orleans, it was, like the videos that they were filming with the opening dresses,
Oh
and they had
yeah,
like the
with
neon
the
lights.
lights. Right, 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 right.
Yes, and she was dancing. She was having a good time, and I thought, you know, that's a side of her that I've never seen. So I feel like she was being strategic, in that sense. Um, but some of the girls maybe that underwhelmed me. I mean, I'm really in pain to say this, but Canada, I'm really underwhelmed by Canada. I don't know if you have her on your radar at all, but um,
Not
when
so
when she was crowned back in Canada, it was like, oof, okay, this is gonna be a rough year, but we still gave her some hope. We have time to prepare. We have almost, a few months. But with some of the fashion, I just feel like she looks like the young sister of everyone. Like she looks beautiful. Like I'm not saying that she's not beautiful or not, but she just looks like a younger sister of everyone. And when you are in a batch of girls that are so strong and so like um like each one of them grabs your attention, it's like you don't know where to look. If you are not on the same level, you will get completely overshadowed. um if I ask you, let's say, maybe to drop a few names of girls that as of right now you see as being potential winners, who would you say? Just a few names in no particular order.
no particular order. You know what? Let's start with Celeste Cortesi. I know it may not come into fruition. Thinking, of
Yeah.
course, of other things like Philippines has won Miss Universe twice in like 10 years.
Hmm.
There's a new organization. Maybe they don't want Philippines again. But just based on Celeste's impact, the two girls, Celeste and Miss Italy, Virginia,
Hmm.
they have single handedly changed our fashion like taste level. They elevated our taste level when looking into um, fashion and pageantry. What they've been serving us is just totally different. They're bringing Milan, they're bringing Paris to Miss Universe, and now that we're seeing that flavor, everyone else is just paling in comparison because everyone else is still stuck with the pageant styling of the sparkles and um, the bodycon dresses. So now we're shifting our um, attention, and we now see the cracks of the regular pageant pappy styling. So I'm looking
Hmm.
at Celeste. She's very calm. This is someone that we haven't sent before. I mean, we want to say she's the strongest, but for everybody else, when we talk about strength, we think about a Catriona Gray. She's definitely
Hmm.
not a Catriona Gray, but there's definitely something in her. And
Hmm.
I've been hearing really uh, credible insider news. And when I say really credible insider news, I'm talking about sponsors, I'm talking about um, media folks that are not bloggers like me, like regular media folks. So for me,
Yes.
Celeste really has a really good chance of snagging it. I'd like to also give a spotlight to Miss Italy, and not because she's the roomie, but because she has her own flavor and she's elegant and really sophisticated. Something that we might want to see in a really fresh ownership. Look
Mm-hmm.
into Europe, look into Italy this time. Italy doesn't really figure in beauty pageantry a lot. And then, of course, you have the strong Latinas. You have the likes of Miss Colombia. I think Miss Colombia is still leading the pack for the Latinas. Now that Miss Curacao is out and about, we should be very afraid. I think that,
Mm-hmm.
even while she was still in quarantine, she was, doing her own thing and making people
Yeah,
um, remember her, like making people aware that I may not be with the other girls in their activities, but
I'm
I
still
still
here.
exist. And now that she's out, we're like, oh my gosh, we might
Yeah.
have like really strong competition here. And then, of course, we have the likes of Miss Thailand. She's still going at it really, really strong. Maybe the energy is waning a little bit, but I think she's still one of the strongest girls. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Spain, I'm quite happy that we're seeing more of her, because the first few days, she looked really normal. When I say normal, I say I met her, you met her. That's how she looked. That's how she dresses up. So when
That's
she got
yes.
into Miss Universe, I thought she would like elevate that, or maybe be more a little theatrical about her everyday look, because guys, her everyday look, it's always so pakak. Who else? Right now, people are also looking into Dominican Republic. She's not
Mm.
polished, because when I talk about polish, I think about Celeste and I think about Virginia. But when I
Mm-hmm.
look at Dominican Republic, she's so put together in a pageant sort of way. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like I have to
Yes.
separate the Celestes and the Virginias.
Actually, yes, you're right. Dominican Republic is slowly but surely like growing,
Mm,
like
yeah.
going up on my list.
Yeah.
From not being there on the list at all to being a dark horse to now being of my list, like my 16 predictions, she's part of it. Um, and actually, I was getting a lot of messages from people from like Dominican Republic, and initially they were upset like she wasn't there. It was like, oh my god, how come? But I've been looking at her stuff, and I really like her. And what I noticed as well is like a lot of the people who are there on the spot and like meeting the girls are saying really good things about her. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering, are we maybe like overlooking her? Like maybe we
Well,
is
now
she going
she's
like under
doing
the radar?
really
Silent
well.
killer. Hmm.
I'm looking. Well, you know what? My issue with Dominican Republic, maybe before I really wasn't like glued into her, only because I would get confused with Dominican Republic and Curacao, especially if they would put their hair up
Mm,
or in a ponytail.
yeah.
But now,
Okay.
because of Curaçao's absence, I now recognize Miss Dominican Republic for who she is, like physically, so I can discern like who's who
Hmm.
now. And
Yeah.
I've been looking at her fashion choices. It's still very pageanty, but very streamlined and neat. So
Hmm.
for me, when I look at someone really neat, I mean, I zero in on that. Louise, very quickly, we haven't really talked about the European girls, but there is a blonde that I would really want to highlight, and I'm talking about Miss Germany. It
Hmm.
might be Miss International all over again for us with Miss Germany.
Do you think so? I like Miss Germany.
Looks like
What was
Maureen
it?
Montaigne
She does. She does have that. The facial structure is
and the
very marine
eyes.
in the eyes as well.
Yeah.
There was something about Miss Germany. I remember that I was looking into her, and was it on my Dark Horses video that I put her? But there's something on her profile, on her social media, that was very like it just kind of like separated me a little bit from putting her into the top 16 right away. I also think that she looks okay. Like the looks that I've seen so far of her in the competition, like in the activities, she looks good. But I don't know if she has been standing out enough for me to say like, oh, I see her as a Right. What is it that you see in her that you go like, I really, really like her?
Well, before going into Miss Universe, we
Mhm.
would look at her, we would observe her. She has made the rounds. Germany and Colombia has the same management or trainer, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
And I remember
Mhm.
talking to my partner Tita B and looking at her photos with Miss Colombia. Both of them are blonde, both blue-eyed, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember saying, "Oh my gosh, this German girl, she isn't from a strong sash factor country, but she has the
Mhm.
guts to go head to head with that beautiful Colombian face, and she still
Yeah.
emerges like fresher than the Colombian. Why are we
Mhm.
looking at the Colombian when we can look at her?" And then I also saw um, a photo shoot of her and Lakshmi in Bali, and there was a beautiful photo of them together, but you could just zero in on her eyes, and I don't know. Sometimes we just really depend on a beautiful photo. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true. She's very captivating. Actually, I just pulled up her social media, just looking
Hodigo.
through the photos as well. Yes, just to get the visual references. She's definitely stunning, and I think that, I mean, when you think about some of the international pageants, Miss World, Miss International, they just crowned blondes from Europe. So, maybe it's time for Miss Universe. And I've heard a lot of people saying that they want to have like a blonde queen this year. So I don't know if that's a thing, but yeah, I wouldn't discount her. She does have the beauty. I just need her to stand out from the group, just like separate herself from the group and just, grab everyone's attention because she has the beauty to do it. Um, Anyone else that you would like to add on your list of
I
potential?
actually have a question for you.
Yes.
How do you feel about the Venezuelan right now, Amanda Dudamel?
Amanda Daman. Okay. So when I made my video of pre-arrival favorites, she was actually my number one pick. I like her. I have liked her for a very long time. And the thing with Amanda is I just really, first of all, I think that she's stunning. I know that she's not everyone's cup of tea in terms of beauty, because she has this very youthful look that sometimes can come across as being not like, almost like not queenish, but like princess y vibes. But
Yeah.
I personally think that's a very refreshing look for Miss Universe. So I like that. I love her approachability, and I just love how so like her the way that she communicates. I think that she is so effective, and I will say that communication, although she's very good in English, the warmth it get lost a little bit when she speaks English. When she speaks Spanish, like I could
Spanish.
listen to her
I
for
see.
hours, hours and hours and hours, and it's like I don't get tired of her. Um, Actually, there's this series of interviews on YouTube. I talked about this many times on my channel, and this was done by a Venezuelan journalist back home, and he interviewed the Miss Venezuelas of the last 10 years, all of
Mm,
them together, and they just talked about their experiences and what's happening. This is all in Spanish, right? And I couldn't help but feel like Amanda was standing out next to everyone else. Like, and Venezuela has like really, really good queens. Like, it's a powerhouse. But I just felt like Amanda is really up there. Um, Now, I will say that that's my perception of her going into the competition. In the competition, I think that she came in strong, but some of the looks have been sometimes disconnect me a little bit. I think that there's a lot of thought and intention behind the looks, but sometimes it doesn't translate to the actual final look. I'm thinking
yes.
of the look that she had, like the sustainable one recently, like the blue one with the glows, the white, and I was like, girl, mm, maybe not this time, but I hope to see her in the top five. I think. I think. How do you feel about her?
Honestly, I'm not too sold. I'm not too
Hmm.
sold with the Venezuelan this year. I know that
Yes.
because we have covered her in the nationals as well. I mean, I'm aware of what she can bring to the table. She is, of course, Miss Venezuela. But
Mhm.
sometimes when the styling is consistently questionable, it takes
Hmm.
away from your actual prowess that people now zero in on her styling. Like I remember posting her yesterday with an ultraviolet sparkly number, and then another one with um, green foil pants. Like sometimes I would recognize, I don't like this, but maybe I like
Hmm.
this. That's why I keep on posting her, because she always
Yeah,
surfaces in my questionable list. And I
yeah.
keep on like saying to myself, what is happening with the styling team of Venezuela? I know that they want to try something else, just like we're trying something else with our girl, being more edgy, being more on the fashion forward side. Maybe Venezuela is doing the same thing, going for something youthful, going for something spunky, something that's a
Hmm.
little light. But yeah, it just doesn't translate, because I don't know if, they're at the that taste level of executing these layered, fun, funky looks. If it were maybe around the direction of maybe a Dua Lipa, I
Hmm.
would understand. But maybe they're not well versed in putting together such a style or such a look, because personally, I have a high regard for the Venezuelans. So to see someone with all that feathers, with all that like foil, with all that, Swarovski and everything, it just seems a little too much. And it's not the classy Venezuelan that,
Hmm.
um, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
used to.
I definitely see where you're coming from, and especially when you said that, we've been asking for something else from Venezuela. Like sometimes, even my comments from last year is that sometimes it felt like very like pageant trained, like almost you could like almost feel the training and the way that they would handle themselves on stage and stuff like that. So I feel like Amanda, in that sense, is a breath of fresh air because she's very herself. She's very natural. And honestly, I think that deep down, the organization kind of trusted her a little bit with the fashion because she is in fashion herself. She has her label. Um,
That
and
one
I think
too.
that, yes, exactly. Like she
That
has
one.
so much, let's say, like, I think that the intention is really good, but sometimes the intention and the concept, the idea doesn't translate to the final look. And that's the problem. But to a certain extent, I'm also like, we were asking for something else. They're trying to give us something else. But you're right. Sometimes the styling, I think that right now, that is the weak spot of
Yeah, it
Venezuela.
is. It is.
Um, yeah. Anyone else that you want to add to the list?
Actually, I want to add something to this. I want to ask your opinion. There's
Oh,
a video
yes.
circulating around.
Hmm.
They've been tagging me on this video. It was about Amanda being captured on live saying that she didn't include the other girls because some of the other girls were mean or something to that effect. Have you seen this video?
No, I haven't.
Okay,
That she didn't include them in what?
okay, so it was a snippet from her live
Uh-huh.
on Insta Live. And I think
Hmm.
this was posted by Missology because I've been getting a lot of tags. That part was already deleted, but of course, everybody has fast fingers. It's been reposted, it's making the rounds. It's a short video snippet of Amanda walking with the other girls. And I think she was answering some questions from her live feed. And she answered that, she wasn't featuring the other girls because the other girls weren't so nice. That was the
Mm.
yeah. How do you feel about
Mm.
this? I
Ah!
feel like she was just I don't know, interpreted maybe, and it was just
Mhm.
magnified. But that's what happens when you don't have control and you go on live. How do you feel with just that information, not really
Just that
knowing more of
information.
the background?
Yes, of course. I mean, to be honest, I think that personally, if I was a Miss Venezuela, if I was a Miss Philippines, Puerto Rico, any of these like huge sash factors, I will be very mindful of the people that I feature because we know that sash factors, whoever they are associated with, those people get like a splash of support, a splash of love. And therefore, a lot of people want to gravitate towards you, right? They want to be seen with you and feature with you. But if she feels like the intention behind that is not genuine, and the people might just be trying to get some cloud from Venezuela, or they might not be like the most genuine or nice people behind cameras. Yeah, I think I will have the same intention now. But I will say is that if that is, the reality, and that it wasn't lost in translation, it's very disappointing, because I feel like we have had these situations, of like mean girls at Miss Universe.
Oh, right.
We had it in 2020 with Russia, I think it was, or was it last year? Russia. We just had it this year with Bolivia, who was actually removed from the competition, and someone replaced her because of this entire thing. And it's like, at some point you have to realize that if you're not going to play the game, you know you just better get out of it. So the girls trying to pretend that they're nice on camera, and then behind the scenes they're acting differently, um, that feels very disappointing, to say the least. But I don't know, I mean, I understand Amanda, but I also would like, especially when people come out with very, like, strong accusations, I like them to just drop a name. Who is it? Who's being mean? But it's not the time. And I get it. I get it.
You
It's
know
not the
what,
time.
Luis? They just got home from dinner, and I was looking at some of the videos, and they were serving drinks. So maybe there's the tipsy factor in there. I don't know.
Ah.
Maybe a little bit of alcohol kind of loosened them up a bit. So guys, if you're sore about that video, please don't like make it bigger than it is. I mean, don't be like say that. I mean, I say that all the time. I mean, whether it's in public or in private. So, I mean, allow these girls to like drop a
Mhm,
little bit of attitude because they're not saints, they're not
mhm.
super perfect. So,
Yeah, exactly.
unless
And let's
it's
just
like the
observe.
Olympian, right?
And let's just observe to see how it is going forward. Because Amanda, honestly, I feel like she was, out of all of the girls, one of the most friendly ones. Because I don't know if you follow that, but all throughout her preparation, like during her reign as Miss Venezuela, she has been doing this series of live interviews with other candidates. So by the time that she got there, she had already interacted with a bunch of them on
Yeah,
social
she
media.
knows.
Yeah, so I saw her like really bonding with like Miss Ghana, for example. She was saying, "Oh, she was the first one that I interviewed. Like, I'm so happy." And it was the same thing with a lot of girls. So for her now to come out and be like, "No, I'm not featuring some of them because they're mean." It's like,
Maybe, honestly, I think that's just a little bit of alcohol talking. I don't know. But
yeah, yeah,
guys, that's pretty normal. Let's not like make it into such a huge thing.
yes.
But as for the others, I mean, I still want to see the types of Thailand there. I know India had a wonky start in the beginning because with all of the fashion sense,
Mhm,
but I'm looking at her fashion styling right now. I think it's more balanced. I think she looks really, really pretty. I just don't know if that's enough to clinch a back to back. Get what I mean? But
mhm,
I have more appreciation for at least her face and what she can bring to the
mhm.
table. We don't really get to talk about these girls a lot, but I was looking for wardrobe and I remember Miss Ghana looking so fashion forward. Miss Ghana is the one without hair, right?
With no hair, yes,
Okay, so
yes.
I saw at least two wardrobe choices, which was like really fantastic. Miss Nigeria is just so bubbly, beautiful as well. That neck, that crazy gazelle-like neck. I like Miss Nigeria.
Mhm.
I am also liking one of my girl crushes this edition, Miss South Africa. My only issue is that Miss South Africa's hair is just so big. Is that even natural? Because if it's natural, I'm not gonna say anything about it.
Mhm.
If it's not natural, then I hope that she considers going back to her cute braids because she does really artistic things with her braids. Um, and just that big hair takes away from that small face and that, really beautiful face. Puerto Rico for me is still up there, but she's being called out for her strong eye makeup, for her strong makeup looks, and
Mhm.
again, her fashion choices, which no offense, but people are saying more on the Latina styling, bursts of color. So, uh, I guess at one point, some pageant fans don't want the most colorful birds in the jungle. They want something more
Yeah.
subdued. And I suppose Miss Puerto Rico hasn't really caught up to that.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I agree. I think that, I mentioned that, especially during my video that I just posted with my post arrival top 16, I put Puerto Rico at number 8, I believe. And I was getting so many, comments that were like, oh, she's at least top 3. And the thing is, like, I do see Ashley, I see her as a Miss Universe. Like, if she wins Miss Universe, like, I will be genuinely happy. But for me, I'm still looking for the wow factor with the looks, like the styling, the wardrobe, the makeup. Sometimes there are certain looks that I'm really really happy and sold, and I'm like, for example, I just saw this video of her once again with the opening number dress, the neon lights, and she was doing her thing, and I was like, that's the Miss Universe. Oh my god! But then sometimes we get some of the other looks, and I'm like, I don't know if this is what I'm hoping for. But then I ask myself, what is it like? What's my criteria? Like, is really my criteria like the standard? We also have to have this reality check for ourselves and be like, is it just a problem with the styling, or is this really what they want to put out there? You know. But yeah, I think that Puerto Rico, as much as I want to see her be in the top 5, I'm keeping a little bit of reservation for the next few days so that I can see where it's going. Um, and Davi, so South Africa, you just mentioned her.
Yeah,
I mean, I love South Africa.
I
Like, South
love
African
her.
queens have a. I love my South African queens. I'm actually really happy with the hair. But I see what you're saying, that it's big,
It's
so
covering.
sometimes it's covering. Maybe if they find a way to maybe make it a little bit more subtle or something, that will help. But
Who was that
so
queen
far,
who would like put her hair up like this and then was that Elle from Miss USA? Because Elle from Miss
mm,
USA from last year also had like really big hair,
yeah,
but she would manage
yeah.
to like put her hair up at least on this part and then let everything go wild at
Oh,
the
okay.
back. I think I just really wanted to
From
see in Davi's
mhm,
beautiful small face.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because her face is extremely. I mean, she was one of the chosen one for the MUBA photo shoot for the makeup campaign. So already, for you to be in the makeup campaign, means that they see the facial value in you, the potential. Um, so I wanted to go back a little bit. You mentioned India,
Mm.
so Divita, and of course I talked about Divita here on the channel. But I want to ask you, how realistic do you think a back-to-back win is?
Um, Not to offend our Indian viewers right now, because I do know that there are
Mhm,
Indian viewers right now. As much as
mhm,
I like your representative this year to succeed Harnaz, I think
mhm,
she's doing a really good job. Unfortunately, the impact, because I tried to measure the impact and do people want to listen to her? Do people get her for interviews? Unfortunately, I'm not seeing this a lot. We are seeing an
mhm,
improvement in her styling because honestly, Louise, the first 2 days, when she left in that orange ensemble with all of that orangeness, and then the next day when she had
mhm,
like a coat dress and then she was in the dark stockings with open-toed uh sandals,
mhm,
what was that all about? So I'm having like more of an appreciation for her now in her more streamlined looks because I wasn't so sold, at
mhm,
least for the first few days. So I'm looking at her
mhm,
right now. She's doing so well, but doing well is not an indicator enough of strength for a back to back.
mhm, mhm.
Now, let me try to
Yes.
also give you like a comparison. Usually, when we would have candidates sent at Miss Universe right after a win, we try to be humble. Like, we try to really stop ourselves from going overboard with the campaign because we know that, these organizations, they won't give the crowns to um, the same countries over and over again. But it has happened in the past. It has happened in the Philippines. It has happened to South Africa. But for us
Mhm.
to collectively think or at least seriously consider that at this stage of the competition, Celeste might just do the impossible for us. I'm waiting for this type of passion to come from the Indian pageant fans. Because right now, if I
Mhm.
observe the Indian pageant fans, they're not quite as passionate on social media and campaigning that we have someone who's going to go for a back to back. No one is
Mhm.
convincing us, at least from their side.
Yeah, yeah. So I see what you're coming. I personally, maybe because I also have a little bit of like Indian following. I've been getting like lots of messages to talk about her, to comment about her, and I feel the passion from the fans. So I feel like they believe it. However, they are aware that that it's gonna be hard to pull a back to back. And to be honest, I don't think it's just the normal challenge of like having a back to back win, which already by itself it's a huge challenge. But I was actually just writing down a video idea today that I wanted to make, maybe post Miss Universe. But I wanted to talk about Harnaz, like her reign, and how I feel like Harnaz was a like not underrated but almost like unappreciated queen in a way, because of a lot of different factors, maybe the looks, maybe people had other expectations for Harnas, and I don't know to what extent the organization will want to crown right away an Indian
Yes.
winner. But deep down I feel like Divita, um, I always said that like if Divita will crack the top five, meaning that if she manages to impress everyone in the organization, the judges and everyone enough to make it into the top five, she will be a threat with the Q&A because she is really she's really eloquent, she's very smart. uh, but even there, I don't know to what extent, because at the end of the day, I still feel like the organization has a say in who they want to, Anne is saying, we're gonna be like, I'm not gonna judge, I'm not gonna it's not my decision. But there's a part of me that feels like if you bought this organization for over $20 million, you are putting $8 million into the production now.
You
You
must
are
have a
investing in
say,
brands.
right?
You must have a
Yeah,
say because at the end of the day, you must recover your investment
right,
somehow.
right, right.
So, um, so I get it that it's gonna be a challenge, but I think that Divita, if the stars align, she might be able to pull it off if the organization sees it. Season, because sometimes even if she performs perfectly, like if it's amazing and the organization does not want to crown a delegate from India, they will not give it to her. So yeah, we'll see. um, how do you feel about USA?
USA, ooh, yum. USA was honestly my heavy favorite before this whole competition started. Um, she had a really good backstory. She seems like such a hard worker. But when she arrived a day late than everyone else, and then she arrived in that white jumpsuit, which I couldn't understand, that was when it started declining for me. And you know what?
Oh.
Declining, guys, declining at face value, just the physical side, not really, what they have to, what they can offer to the table. I was looking at her
Mhm,
visual story. Um, of course, she's a designer. Of course, she has like control of her image. That she would present to everyone else. And I felt that she was catering to herself, not to the sash or not as a representative of the USA at Miss Universe, because she would go out in, these funky wardrobe, which I don't know if it's a cross between athleisure or cosplay. It's a very very specific style, and it gets a little
mhm,
confusing because she's supposed to be, really regal. She's supposed to really be a leader and set the bar. So I was looking at her, and maybe because a lot of them really prepared for this stint, Louise, a lot of them lost weight. And when you lose weight
mhm,
in the middle of winter, you get a little drier. And there were a lot of ladies who I felt um didn't really leave such a good impression because they looked skinnier and drier than usual. And that was how I felt with Arbany. In fact, yesterday was the very first, no, not, it was the second actually. It was the second post that I commended Arbany, not with what she was wearing, but how she styled herself. And I felt that that was the very first time that I felt she looked a little more healthy, because I felt that she lost
Mm-hmm.
so much weight and she kind of faded because she's not also the tallest. So when you're skinny
Mm-hmm.
and you're not the tallest, it's easy for you to fade.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sick.
Tita is a little sick,
Yeah.
guys. So speedy recovery, Tita.
Uh, I think it's gonna be this way till the 15th.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes to Albany, I feel like this is one of the things why I like talking to you is because sometimes our opinions really go opposite
I
ways.
know.
Uh, but I think that Albany actually grew on me during the competition. I don't know if maybe it's because she might be taking risks, and I see what you're coming from. Like sometimes some of the designs, it shows that it was done by herself. So sometimes some of them can come across as being a little DIY. Um, but so far, I have enjoyed her presence, the things that she has been done, the looks. I appreciate it. I really like the wide look that she gave at first. I thought it was, you know, truly how I felt was that for most of the departures, a lot of the girls just gave us, very casual pedestrian looks. And Arbany came up with something that was completely outside of the box. So I thought that's exciting. Like that's something she a full orchestra at the airport. And I was like, that's makes me feel excited for what is yet to come for the competition. Um, but so far, she's pretty high on my list. I just made on my 16, she was actually my number two on the list. Which, by the way, I will say, and I will clarify here because a lot of people don't understand that. And when I make a post arrival list, it means after the girls arrived in New Orleans, like forgetting everything before and everything that is yet to come for the first few days of them being there. That's what that list means. That is not a final prediction list. That is not considering what they did before joining there. I'm just talking about what we are seeing as the competition is happening. And she was definitely one of my favorites. So we'll see how that will change for finals, especially after the preliminary competition. There are many, many things that we still need to consider. Um, but yeah, I think that Albany is a strong one. I also feel, just to kind of echo what you were saying earlier about Celeste. Uh, Personally, I'm like super happy with Celeste and everything that she has been doing in with the styling. I feel like, as you said, it was exciting. It's like fashion forward, and it's something that I personally I'm not used to seeing from like Filipina delegates or
Pageantries.
even yeah, like as you say, I feel like pageantry lately is very much like like the gowns with the stones, and it's very that's pageant. And right now, so Philippines and Italy are both bringing uh, this kind of like newer, fresher,
I know.
fashion forward looks into the mix. Um, I even saw someone comment on one of the social medias, maybe on Facebook. I don't know if you will agree. Maybe I'll ask you. But someone was saying that Celeste is the best dressed Miss Philippines that we have sent in recent years. That we have sent, as in like that the Filipinos have sent in recent years. How do you feel? Do you agree with that, or do you think it's a stretch?
It's a little bit of a stretch, but I will also agree. And only because most of the things that we've been seeing for Celeste are our outerwear. We aren't really seeing what's inside of it. So I'm gonna commend the stylist because coming from a tropical country, dressing for winter countries or countries that are colder, that's our Waterloo. Like Every
Mm,
time we would have like styling discussions for pageants that would fall around December, around January, at countries that are a lot colder. Sometimes we just have like a few pieces, a few like big coat pieces, and then that's it. And we
mm,
compensate for that by just wearing like the cocktail dresses underneath. With Celeste, it's different. They're offering us really, really strong outerwear looks. Um, they're shifting it. They're making it more androgynous, something that we haven't seen before, something that we did not realize we liked. So
mhm,
just opening those doors and then just making us realize I didn't think I was going to be into this oversized black trench coat. I mean, it's very Kardashian. You know what? I will say this though, and I will say this to your channel.
mhm,
Um, all of Celeste's look, even from day one, there was someone who compiled her looks from day one and matched this with a lot of the looks from uh,
way.
Kelsey Merritt. You will see these looks from Kelsey Merritt. Even that pink thing, there was a Kelsey Merritt uh like video editorial for Bulgari perfumes, and she was in a light pink feathery dress. If you guys have
Mhm,
the time to check her wardrobe story, I think she's really being patterned against Kelsey. And even
mhm,
how she would use her sunglasses and then her hair pulled back, this is all very Kelsey off duty. I don't know if
mhm,
it's a stretch because the comparison was rather hush hush. I got the comparison from a DM, someone who I didn't
mhm,
know, and
mhm,
she was sort of like spilling tea and she was asking for my opinion and saying, Tita, what do you think of this? Because it seems that the stylist of so and so unfollowed Kelsey, or that Kelsey unfollowed stylist so and so. And I was like, oh, really?
mm,
So when she presented the side by side looks of Kelsey and the side by side looks of Celeste, I was like, oh my God, everything is so uncanny. So, guys, if you have the time, go ahead and check it out. I mean, that's a little Easter egg. Maybe
mhm.
it's something that you'd like to, I don't know, check out on your own.
It's all on the social media, so we have to
I
go
know.
and check it out.
But I mean, I'm like
Yeah.
really happy about it. I mean, I don't know if they will admit to it though. I'm just saying that
Mhm,
I'm seeing the pattern. I'm acknowledging that there's a pattern, but you know what? If there's anyone who can pull out that, Celeste, no, no, that Kelsey Merritt, uh, I'm super cool, super rich sort of young girl, then go for it.
yeah. Yes, of course. I think that in the fashion department, she's doing so well, and
Yeah.
I think that honestly, um, like I would see Celeste winning the entire thing, but as you mentioned, I think that it's going to be challenging, given the fact that Philippines already won in the last 10 years twice, and there's a lot of things to take into consideration: new owner, new management, new company, new everything. So it depends on a lot of things, but recently there has been this talk about her communication skills, and now she seems relaxed and so calm and so like in her moment. um, which, to be honest, I'm not surprised. Like, I don't know, maybe like I think I've been following her so much since the Miss Universe days before she was crowned at Miss Universe Philippines, that she always gave me the same aura. And when I got to meet her, it wasn't like like a pageant vlogger beauty queen type of dynamic. It was really just like us meeting and talking, and that was the vibe that I got all along. And now when I'm seeing her doing interviews in New Orleans, I'm like, that's the person that I was talking to. It's not two different people. But what do you think that people are so shocked? Like right now, everyone's like, oh my god, she speaks so well, this and that, and it's like, wasn't it like that all the time? I mean, prior to Miss Universe Philippines, I mean, after Miss Universe Philippines, because I know that back in the day, it's another story.
I guess that's it. I guess that people, well, Luis, because that seems to be unresolved. I think that people are recognizing the improvements of Celeste in the way she converses, in the way that she conducts herself, in the way that she centers herself in these interviews. But
Mhm,
I think that those who are still hitting Celeste with her grammar and the way that she speaks and the way that she's been repetitive about certain things is because there are still unresolved issues from the past. Celeste, although she mentions what happened in the past and how she conducted herself in the past, there's like a huge black hole on what happened there, really. I mean, we as pageant bloggers, as analysts, we can give everyone a story of how she was when she was still Miss Earth. That was not such a really good experience because even at around the time she was supposed to relinquish her crown, she wasn't there. So that pretty much gives her us an idea on the relationship she cultivated while she was still Miss Earth Philippines,
mhm,
so far removed from how she turned things around. Because for me, Luis, that would have been more interesting, like how did you really turn things around? Because right now she's pretty stuck in their narrative of saying, I stayed in the Philippines, I learned the language, I learned the culture. But that's not
mhm,
what we want to know. We want to know how crazy you were or how much of a party girl you were right after your Miss Earth stint, and then you went into modeling. It was a very obscure type of life for you because we would see you in endorsements, let's say, such as Avon, or in bikini shows or swimsuit shows, such as that amazing fashion show by Boom Sason. And we would see her sporadically around, but
mhm,
we want to know how you got to that decision of like really shedding everything from your Miss Earth stint and then focusing on just self improvement and being
mhm.
that worthy candidate carrying the Philippine sash all the way to Miss Universe. And I think that if she's not talking about it right now, I hope that she will get the chance to really talk about it further at events that really matter, like that closed door interview or
Mhm.
Miss Universe if she gets the chance to answer Q&A.
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause
I mean, I
we have lost
actually
years.
the video that I made about her, I feel like this is like a pageant trend sometimes with like creators like, can this candidate win? And I made a video about Celeste, can she win Miss Universe? And by the end of it, like I included a little reflection that I had about because I really questioned myself about what is this entire transformational little thing? What does it mean? What are they looking for? So for Celeste, what I came up with, it was truly the entire, as you say, like the evolution from being back in the day at Miss Earth and all of the backlash that came out of that to now being arguably one of the most supported queens that I mean, there's a hype around Celeste right now that I didn't feel last year. That I just feel like people are really, really behind her. So I think that that's really like the core of the transformation, where things happen. But as you say, maybe because there are certain topics that might be sensitive, they don't really want to get too much into it. Um, but yeah, I hope that they will develop, at some point, hopefully when it truly matters before the end of the competition. But okay, so we've been talking for 1 hour and 13 minutes. I want
What?
to include our audience a little bit and
Oh,
make this
yes,
more
yes, let us.
interactive. So I was seeing one of the comments. So I'm gonna say, you guys, by the way, you're watching us live right now. I'm not gonna start taking a bunch of questions just yet, but um, we're gonna talk about some of the dark horses, so the girls that we might be overlooking. But I still want you to, at the end, send us some questions that you want us to address. And if you have any countries that you want us to talk about specifically, put them. We will try to cover this, as much as we possibly can within a timely manner. So when you think of dark horse or girls that you see a lot of potential that are not receiving the hype or the support from the pages, who does come to mind? I know you mentioned earlier Germany. Um, who else is on your radar?
Um, I don't know if we can consider her a dark horse or a sleeper altogether, but am I the only one waiting for Miss Bhutan to like show herself or have like a follow up to that beautiful Q&A performance that we've been seeing on social media. I saw that she arrived. I was looking at some of her materials. I am looking at her sense of style. It's also quite on the edgy side. I mean, she's a little hard compared to what we might think of folks from Bhutan might look like, or like how they might style themselves in the competition, maybe not as aggressive, but I'm looking at her. She has tattoos. She's not afraid to wear shorts, and she's not afraid to, get herself in like a really big coat. So thinking it's a little fresh for me, spunky
Hmm.
really, but when I see her, she's more like one of those badass characters from Netflix. I get that vibe.
Oh.
I want to know if it's a fluke. I mean, I want to hear her speak. I want more opportunities, hopefully, for the
Mhm.
likes of Miss Bhutan to speak out. Also for Miss Bahrain. I know she's not one of the tallest, but the mere fact that she's being called into like shows like Muba, there must be something in her. I know that face is a face that just keeps on giving. She has like this really striking set of eyes, but I want to hear more. I mean, why aren't these vloggers really
Mhm.
going around? Because why aren't you there?
But
You're
wait,
supposed to be there.
for Muba, are we?
Why are you
Well,
here? Are you going there? No.
I'm prioritizing all the things.
Okay. So you're not flying, guys. Honestly, I thought he was
No,
flying there. No,
no,
so
no,
no.
no, no. I'm still here. Tita, so you mentioned the Muba photo shoot. So are we talking about Miss Bhutan or Miss Bahrain?
Both
Bahrain.
Miss Bhutan and Miss Bahrain. I mean, I'd love
Ah,
to
okay.
learn more about Miss Bhutan, only
Oh,
because I was
oh.
really intrigued by her Q&A and what's the pageantry scene in Bhutan, you guys. And I want to also get to know more about Miss Bahrain, because
Yeah.
Miss Bahrain is being handled by Josh Eugen. Josh Eugen is a fashion personality based in Dubai. He's been very diligent in trying to market Miss Bahrain. And I know that she's well funded also. So I don't know if picking her for MUBA was a conscious choice of the organization or the sponsor, or if this was somehow arranged by the management team. But what I am saying is that if she's getting recognition, I would like to hear more of her speak. And right
Yeah.
now, we have very limited materials coming from the vloggers who were invited to, or who got like a media pass to cover the
Hmm.
event from there. But I haven't been really seeing more of these speaking engagements, because that's also
Yeah.
one of the ways for us to gauge how well rounded they are. Throw in
Hmm.
Aruba as well. She's a little wonky with
Hmm.
styling, and a lot of people are recognizing her when she does really well at styling. But when sometimes she just fades, and sometimes people just think she's better off at Miss World. She does seem to have that Miss World vibe rather than Miss
Hmm.
Universe, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. I agree with you. Do you see? I mean, with everything that has been going on, with people mentioning that she's like a front runner, but also the entire COVID thing, do you see Curacao as a dark horse or as a
Yeah,
front runner, as a winner?
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, she's considered a dark horse because Curacao, even if they be like really consistent in like placing every once in a while,
Hmm.
they don't really win a lot of these titles. So for Miss Curacao to be in that position, and for her to, you know what, she's not a blonde, she's not Latina, she's not Indian. I mean, she's so racially ambiguous. I think that this will really work if we're going to look into marketing, if we're going to really look at what her life might be right after
Hmm.
winning, which was really very limiting for the types of harnas. And I don't have to spell it out why it was limiting for harnas. So if
Hmm.
they're thinking of making bawi, Or when we say bawi, if they're thinking of like breaking even,
Yeah.
maybe they could look for someone racially ambiguous and, you know, throw her in endorsement campaigns with no specific like target market
Mhm.
in terms of physical demographics.
Mm. Do you think that now that the organization is based in Asia, I mean in Thailand, this will have like a disadvantage somehow for, like the black girls, the African girls, like racially ambiguous girls, as you said, like, because we have seen this with Miss International before. So do you think that there will be a shift in the type of girls that they look for at Miss Universe?
You know what? I honestly hope it doesn't affect at least the girls who are still struggling to get up there. I mean,
Hmm.
it was also a little hard for the types of Zozibini, even if she's recognized as one of like the best speakers at Miss Universe. Um, People were also saying the opportunities for Zozibini were also limited, and maybe because she had short hair, something to that effect. I know
Hmm.
it's going to be more challenging when we think about the Asian market because the Asian market is very specific. The Asian market is also a little difficult to crack. I mean, as
Hmm.
much as we love our melanin girls, it's still a market that's predominantly focused on whiteness. So
Yeah.
that's why when we have the types of like the blondes making it really, really well, let's say at Miss International, we have a backup explanation for that by saying, you know what, it's okay to actually crown a blonde girl this time. I mean, don't be so sore about it because we haven't really crowned a blonde girl. So, like, every time we play someone who's like super bright and blonde, there seems to be
Hmm.
like an added disclosure because everybody seems to be on the sensitive side. So, just to eliminate this, whether black or brown or white, they should just go with what the core of Miss Universe is. Look for
Hmm.
someone who can represent all of us in all of our colors and not just be focused on being just the best speaker because that's a snooze fest. Not just be focused on someone who just has the best face, but focus on someone who is
Well
seemingly
rounded.
the most well rounded out of everyone
Hmm.
else.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm.
I agree. Because, I mean, and I feel like at least what has been said so far, I believe it's the right way to go. Have a judge of panels that is representative of the universe, universal people from all backgrounds. Because that was one of the comments that I heard a lot in Miss International. Some of the girls will say, all of the judging panel is Japanese, so of course they will look for what Japanese based, the culture will look for. So I think that for as long as Anne kind of like stays out of it and she just allows the judges to do their job, because once again, it's just like a personal feeling, but I feel like Anne, with all of the investment that she did, she will somehow want to recover that investment. And my perception is that she didn't buy Miss Universe to try to make it big, like to give it like a new life in America. I think that she bought it because she knows that pageants are huge and relevant in Asia, and she wants to bring it to Asia.
Yeah.
So my expectation is that for the upcoming years, we will see a lot of the sponsors and a lot of the backing of the pageant come from Asian-based companies and sponsors and all of that. I think that slowly but surely they will just allow the pageant to decline in America and just move to where it's actually relevant. But that's just my opinion.
Talk to me, Luis, about Miss Thailand. I'm seeing some comments asking about
Yes,
Miss Thailand.
yes.
How do we feel about her? Or what is it that doesn't make us really announce that she's the runaway winner for this edition?
Mhm.
What's
Well,
stopping
actually, I want
us?
to talk about two people. I want to talk about Anna, Thailand, and I want to talk about Vietnam after as well.
Mm.
So when it comes to Thailand, You know, I truly, 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 truly do like her. Like, there's nothing that I think of her and I'm like, this could have been. I just appreciate overall what she's doing at the pageant. There's a part of me who feels like Anne will not give it to her like this year. She
Yeah,
will not give it to Thailand this year just to avoid the entire cooking show type
right.
of comments, But I think that if Anna was to be crowned, like deep down, I will be happy with that because I think that she's deserving. She has handled herself in a way as a Miss Universe before going to Miss Universe, just like the work that she was doing with the organization. Um, and I think that she has, transformed her story is very transformational leader. So I think that she will be able to bring the best of both worlds. She's a very lovely, approachable girl, like very bubbly, so she's likable. But yet again, I still feel like her biggest challenge is just, and I said this before, she has to be so good, like clearly
Yes.
the winner for
So
Anne to be like,
flawless. Yes.
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 If she doesn't have that winning glow, like undeniable standing, like she's like standing out amongst, next to everyone else, and will not give it to her because the comments, the backlash is going to be a lot. Um, how do you feel about Miss Vietnam, the racing powerhouse?
Miss Vietnam, honestly, right now she's really cute. She's giving me or serving us a lot of really cute fashion looks. But if I'm being very honest with you, this is or she's one of the weakest Miss Vietnam for me. Only
Hmm.
because I don't know. Is that bad if I think that she's one of the weakest? Because for me, the visuals are
Hmm.
there. I mean, that's undeniably
Hmm.
Vietnam. They're
Yes.
very pakak and placado when it comes to styling. And this girl also prepared. She came all the way to the Philippines to prepare her pasarela and everything. So even so, I feel like she's not one of the strongest Vietnamese scent, only because
Hmm.
I feel like she's just cruising along. Unlike the other Vietnamese, like Henny, and even during Pia's time, although she didn't Pham Hong B, even if she didn't get into the semifinals, this one is a little more timid for me. So I think the PR skills is just a little raw, unlike the other Vietnamese who were like, really out
Hmm.
there, really outgoing. Doesn't matter if my English is broken. I'm gonna
Hmm.
make you chica anyway. This one is a little more subdued and a little more focused for me, at least on
Yeah.
the fashion side.
Yeah, they actually released a video like a while ago. This is not recent, like probably like 2 weeks ago, on the Miss Universe Vietnam Instagram, and it was her doing her training, and she actually, which I believe, of course, it was calculated. This is like PR, but she was actually speaking English, and she was eloquent. Like she was clear with her ideas, and I think that's sometimes one of the biggest, feedbacks that people will give to Vietnamese queens is like, the communications needs to be clear, needs to be precise, etc. And she truly proved, like she showed a lot of improvement on that sense. But I'm really loving the look so far. But yes, for some reason, it's like I really like her, but she is not necessarily like standing out the most for me. There's still some, but we still have a few more days before the finals. But if she's gonna show up, she has to show up now. She has to like do
Right.
it
Yeah, I
yesterday.
mean, these ladies, they have to step up. That's why, you
Yeah.
know what, with this whole Celeste campaign, this will potentially be heartbreaking for the Filipino fans if she
Hmm.
doesn't advance or if she doesn't have like a really good finish. Because we are now at day 7 of Miss Universe, if I'm not mistaken. And I feel at least being right in the middle as an admin, as a content creator on YouTube, I feel like right now we are all in with Celeste Cortesi. We have most likely set aside our differences with the camps and the organization, but I feel like we're all getting together for a Celeste Cortesi on day 7. If you don't have that
Mhm.
support on day 7, and if you're not showing yourself on day 7, if you're not being talked about on day 7, you might as
Mhm.
well be a little more nervous at this point, because how
Yeah.
else will you impress not just the judges? Because the judges, whether you like it or not, they have some clue. They have some idea of who you are. They have some idea on where you surface in the favorites list. They might not base it on the various topics that everyone has been
Yeah.
releasing, but they have an idea on who are being talked about. And if you're not being talked about at this stage in the competition, then get
Mhm.
a little more nervous there.
Yeah. Exactly. Um, you're right. I want to address one of the comments because I'm actually in real time. I'm being tagged in this.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
getting notifications on Instagram. People are saying that there's this video going around the internet about this person allegedly is a Filipino calling Anna, Miss Thailand, a copycat of uh, of Catriona.
Mm,
And I was actually, you know, because someone was actually commenting something similar when we were talking about Celeste and how they were comparing her to someone else, and someone was saying, and so what? Like, if she's inspired, people do that all the time. They get inspired by celebrities, public figures, and all of that. So if her styling is inspired in a model, then that's okay. I kind of feel the same way about Miss Thailand. I do see the similarities, I do see the inspiration, but I also think that Anne has been transparent. Anna, I keep on calling her Anne
Anna.
because of
Anne and Anna.
Anna. Yeah, I think that Anna has been transparent about being inspired by Catriona, and she has, kind of like posted about Catriona when she met Catriona and a lot of these things. So it's like, yes, there's a clear reference, but I feel it almost as a tribute, as an homage, rather than I'm trying to steal your look. And so people will give her such a hard time because of that. It's like, I don't think that styling yourself after a previous title holder is the best decision because they already had a Catriona. They don't want to crown a new Catriona. They want to crown a fresh face, new person, But I feel like people give her too much of a hard time. And actually, I was just being tagged on something. It's like, oh, they're calling her like Catriona copycat and like so rude and stuff. How do you feel about the comparisons in terms of styling?
You know what? The reason why the comparison comments are there, it's because it's true. I mean, I don't want to
Hmm.
baby your feelings and say, no, it's not true. There have been
Hmm. Yeah.
very similar patterns, but you have to listen to this, guys. Anna has a very specific face, and this face has a specific styling that works for her. It may not be that they were just copying Catriona altogether, but they were probably just taking parts of Catriona's styling that would work well for Anna. And so far,
Hmm.
what's working for Anna is that type of hair that we see from Kat a lot. Now, in terms of styling, maybe not, because uh, Kat was really into clothes that were more conservative when she competed, clothes that were more representative of the culture by incorporating a lot of our Filipino textiles and the Filipino techniques in garmentry. So, what I'm just saying is that you can put Anna down by saying, she's Catriona 4.0 at this point, or 5.0 by this point, because they said the same things to Pasay. They said the same things to um, Amanda Obdom, I think. And then they
Hmm.
said the same things also to the other candidates right after Catriona Gray. But with Anna, I will say that they really most likely took the best parts of, I don't know, maybe Kat. And Kat's red, her
Hmm.
association with red, that's
Hmm.
not trademark. I mean, that's not something that she owns. It just so happens that these red shades also look really well on Anna. her face pops up when you put a little bit of
Yeah.
red with her.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
if you factor in her final look from the finals with all that hair, with all that red lips, it's just so Catriona in reference. But again, guys, who would want to go into the competition and, say, I copied Catriona Gray? Of course, that doesn't happen. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
it wasn't intentional. I'm just saying that no one wants a copycat. And I think that it's okay to get like little things from the whole picture and be
Yeah.
yourself. So I think that Anna is doing a really good job. I don't think that she's interested in answering allegations that she's a copycat of Catriona. And for that reason, if for her day one up until day 15 is a go, then it's a go for her. It doesn't matter if people throw
Yeah.
in things like Catriona here and there.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think that she should address it. It's not, even if there was some inspiration taken from Catriona, it's like, as some of even the viewers said, everyone does that. Like, you get inspired from other people. And, to be honest, I also looking, more into like Anna and her preparation. I also felt, because there was this photo shared of the last three Miss Thailands, pretty much. So uh, you had Amanda, you had Anne Scott Chemist, and then you have Anna. And I just felt like Anna is kind of a hybrid of Amanda and Anne. Like, Amanda more with the looks and the fierce side and the walk and stuff, but she still has that sweetness, that softness that Anne Scott Chemist was giving us last year. So I feel like in a way she kind of also has like the best of both worlds, um, with more of like the Catriona, inspired type of look and aura. So I don't think it's a bad thing. Anyways, maybe I can ask you a few what's the name of that? Like, fire questions,
Oh, rapid.
rapid fire.
Wait lang. Talaga ba? Wait lang, wait lang. Let
Okay,
me blow
while
my
we ask
nose.
the questions, you guys, while we ask the questions for the viewers, you guys send your final questions for the live stream. Anything that you want us to address is now or never. So speak now or be silent forever.
Wait,
If you have any
I
countries,
want to go to the
oh,
toilet. Wait for me.
go, line, go. Uh-uh.
Wait for me.
In the meantime, I will just wait here with the viewers. So let me know so far. I will be reading you in the comments, okay? How do you feel about the live stream? Are you satisfied? I know that I promised you guys a live stream where I would actually just be just by myself and actually take your requests to review countries. So I will go on Instagram, their social media. We're going to pull it out. We're going to talk about it, just us together. But today with Tita is really just to talk about, everything about Miss Universe, the updates, the styling, the front runners and everything. And just to make it fun for everyone. But don't worry, I still have that very detailed, in-depth live stream with you guys. So maybe in the next 2 days, how do you guys feel about that? Because I also want to give enough time to get closer to, maybe after the preliminary. Let me know. Would you prefer this type of live stream before the preliminary or after the preliminary? By the way, also just want to say very quickly thank you to everyone who was sending the tips, because I saw you guys as well. I'm not actually on YouTube, but I see you on the side. And thank you for everyone for the tips, for your kindness. It's truly, truly appreciated. Um, Pure character lifting some weight, saying, keep it up. Thank you, AC de la Cruz. Thank you so much. And Tita is back, so let's bring her back on the screen.
Hi guys, I'm back.
Welcome back, Tita. Okay, so let's address the rapid fire questions, and then let's just wrap it up with some final thoughts here from the viewers. So these are very simple. It's nothing crazy, but you just tell me the first thing that comes off the top of your mind. Okay.
Okay.
Um, in your opinion, who has the best walk in the competition?
Best walk in the competition. Ooh, I'm gonna give this one to Peru. Every time I see her, I'm like, oh, she's charging at me.
Peru. I like Peru a lot. Very, very solid. Who will have the best gown?
Celeste Cortesi.
Philippines. What do you think? By the way, parenthesis. What do you think about Italy? Are you excited about her gown? Because she's getting like high fashion.
Okay, so Roberto Cavalli, I'm excited about. Although I do know that it could swing both ways for Roberto Cavalli. If Italy doesn't get to balance the fashion side and the
Mhm.
pageantry side come finals, we might have a problem. It doesn't matter if it's a
Yes,
Roberto Cavalli.
yes, that's true. Next question: who will ace the Q&A segment?
I think Arbany will ace the Q&A segment.
Mm. Who will surprise everyone? Who will
I
shock
think
us?
Celeste Cortesi will surprise everyone still.
Who will underperform?
Ooh, underperform. Maybe one of the dark horses. I don't know. I can't say. I don't want to get into trouble.
Let's not get into cancellation. Who will be the last two standing?
The last two standing, I would honestly want this to be a fresh Italian. May it be the Italian Italian or the Filipino Italian.
Yes, okay. And who will be our new Miss Universe?
Celeste Cortesi, Philippines.
You know,
Sorry
one
guys,
of the
bias
reasons,
ako.
Tita, we're so biased.
Bias ako. Maybe Luis, I can tell everybody because I know that some of your followers here or subscribers here are not my viewers or my followers. So
Yeah.
the reason why I am this solid with a Celeste Cortesi for some of you guys was because back in the day I was a writer for a bridal magazine. And told this story several times already. I've even posted this on the Titas of Pageantry side. And back in the day, this was Celeste's obscure years as a model, as I don't know what she was doing back then, but I would always see her at the fashion shows that I would cover. I would be sent to fashion shows, both bridal and regular fashion shows. And whenever fashion shows would start, there would always be like a cocktail setup, like a cocktail hour or like party before the actual fashion show or right after the fashion show. And I would bump into a Celeste Cortesi at the height of her non pageant era. She was really a handful. I mean, when you talk about like party girls and being dragged and wearing super short dresses and giggling and you get the picture. She really wasn't the most queenly queen we've had right after her Miss Earth stint. And I followed that for years, and I don't know if she would bump into me or know me. I'm pretty sure she doesn't know me at that time, but I would see her, and there was this one point when she got quite drunk that I was even one of the ladies who helped her up to bring her to, I don't know, with her friend. But that was the situation. So when she submitted her application for Miss Universe Philippines, it was something that we did not expect because Miss Universe Philippines is known to be, um, well, known to be friendlier or associated with the rival camp. So
Mhm.
when Celeste gave her submission and years has passed in between, she has developed her bone structure, looking the way she does now. We were like, you know what? We don't care if you were like super wild from back in the day. You stay in your position and you ruffle the feathers because that pretty face is just gonna, you know, it's gonna destroy your list, basically.
Yeah.
So when she moved into Miss Universe Philippines, our thinking was that just be there, just, ruffle the feathers, not really realizing that she would go all in with her preparations, not realizing that however muddled she was before, she would be so focused, streamlined. And this is what I'm saying when you have a pageant girl that you push to go back to pageantry, sometimes it does not translate. But if you have a pageant girl who took her break in between, who decided for herself, I'm going to go and do this, and I'm going to go and do this right. This is what I'm seeing with her. And everything is culminating. That's why for me, she's super well rounded because she's been there, she's done that. She did not have a journey wherein she was packaged to behave this a certain way, to look a certain way,
Yeah.
because she went off tangent altogether in her earlier years. So I'm looking
Yeah.
at her right now. That for me is aspirational. If you could control yourself and if you could look that centered, I mean that's an
Hmm.
achievement, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. Actually, I will say that as of right now, I will see her as a winner. Like I wouldn't be surprised. And that's one of the reasons why deep down I'm really sad that I didn't go to New Orleans. Because I keep
Yeah,
on thinking
yeah.
if it happens and I'm not there, I'm gonna feel bad about it forever.
Oh.
But so even truthfully, sometimes making content because obviously a big part of my audience is from the Philippines. Coming, I really think that especially international pageant season is challenging because sometimes, for example, this year where we have a girl that I think that she can do it, she can make it, and if I put it at number one, the international fans will be upset at me because of like you're being biased. But then if she's actually really performing and I don't give her the recognition that she deserves, then like people like Filipinos will be like, but are you blind? So for me to put her at number one and to say that yes, I stand by that, because it's my opinion, it means that I truly, truly believe it. Whatever happens, after the coronation. Sometimes, after coronations happen, people will tag me and be like, "See, you were wrong." It's like I don't care because when I made the decision, that was
See,
a
that's why
conscious
I don't do
decision.
hot picks.
Yes,
I
it's
don't do that.
challenging. We take so much heat.
I know.
We
I
take so much heat,
know.
but as I said in the beginning of the video, this year I feel like we have at least five girls who are Miss Universe material. So at the end of the day, we're still gonna be happy for whoever gets it, and the hope is that we will still support whoever gets it, um, and yeah, we just hope for more animosity and more union within the pageant community because sometimes it gets a little chaotic, hectic to say the least. Let's take some of the questions here from our
Yeah,
viewers, Tita.
I am reading something
Um,
about Celeste's styling being repetitive.
I saw that question, but I mean, I'll bring up the photo again. What do you think? I mean, based on what we have so far,
May I? May I give
the
you
only
a little bit of something that,
go.
I don't
Yes,
know,
of course, of
might
course.
calm
Push,
you
push.
down? So I think a lot of you, this one I got from a source. So this isn't my personal observation. So
Mhm,
I heard from a really reliable source that she's really covering up. She's not really showing a lot of her skin, a lot of her body. She's picking a lot of reds in her
mhm.
wardrobe because there is a possibility of reserving some of the looks that you've been waiting for the prelims and finals. So, guys,
Ooh.
if you feel like she has the same hair, if you feel like she's wearing all blacks or maybe reds, don't worry. We will have something like a bone for dogs like us,
Wow.
like treats for us. Yeah.
Sana all.
So
That's exciting. That's
yeah, don't
promising.
get too
That's what
like
I like
worked up
about
on
this.
it because I know that we have a strong candidate and we've been very very critical. I myself have been very very critical of the organization and how they've been managing our girls for these international competitions. I do know that they sat on this, they decided on this, they were unanimous, and as of today, I think I can share that her gowns and her national costume have arrived in New Orleans. So we won't have
Mm,
any issues anymore. So it's just only a few days. If she wears all black, if she wears oversized this and that,
mhm.
calm
Yes.
down.
Yes, absolutely.
Calm
We
down.
have this question here from Jill James.
Mm.
Actually, I think it's quite interesting. Asking Louis and Tita L, I just want to ask, in both of your opinions, will the top 16 be more Latina centric or Asian centric? Why not African centric or European centric? Just kidding.
Um, you know what? Paula made a reply saying that,
Mm-hmm.
there's no truth to the Continental grouping. So hooray, because
Mm-hmm.
I hate that. I absolutely hate that. But
Mm-hmm.
basing on like who's strongest right now, I think the Americas have more strong
Mm-hmm.
ladies out there. Maybe a few Europe, a few from Africa. Not a lot
Mm-hmm.
really super competitive girls coming from Asia though. Like I feel that it's only Thailand and the Philippines who's like really bringing the flag or
Yes, absolutely.
carrying
I
everything.
agree with you. I think it's going to be mostly Latinas with a few strong contenders from Europe,
Everywhere
Africa,
else.
and Asia. Yes. Um, some people were asking, okay, guys, so I asked you to send some of the names of the countries. Some people were talking about Guatemala. I know that she's been around for a while. We see her before, even at Miss Grand. So, how do you feel about her as of right now, so far in the competition?
You know what? Guatemala had a really amazing showing at Miss Grand International. So there seems to be red flags with Miss Guatemala. Let me just
Mm-hmm.
address this a little bit. Number one was that hair color because it may be as simple as a hair color change, but people
Mm-hmm.
are really pinning that hair color change to her campaign. Very early
Mm-hmm.
on, right after winning the title for Miss Guatemala, she made huge announcements about not feeling herself in blonde or feeling healthier in a different hair color or like more seriously taken in a different hair color. So maybe a lot of the pageant fans are really pulling back their support for Miss Guatemala because that hair color story was unresolved. And we are big
Mm-hmm.
on authenticity right now. We're big being real and everything. So maybe her ideas with her hair color change was rather conflicting. So another
Mm-hmm.
thing that I think she's still a really strong contender. I mean, the girl can communicate. She can speak really well. But I feel that whatever it is that's pulling her down, Louise, honestly, is styling. What is wrong with the styling of this young woman? I don't know what's happening with her styling team. Maybe they got overly excited. I will note,
Mm-hmm.
though, that together with Peru, I feel like they both redeemed themselves during the parade. Her photos during
During
the
the parade.
parade were amazing.
Okay. Yes. Absolutely, I agree with you. I think that yeah, something with the styling and perhaps I really like her aura. She's very warm. She's very like empowered, especially. And once again, this is something that I will say consistently for some of the Latinas, especially in Spanish. Although with Ivana from Guatemala, some people will say that she expresses herself better in English than in Spanish. Sometimes in Spanish she
Mhm.
tends to like get too general sometimes. In English she sounds more like empowered, like a leader vibes type of thing.
Right,
But yeah,
very leader.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with you. Let's see, we had here someone. Okay, so some of the girls that you guys are asking already, we have already mentioned during the live stream, so we'll have to watch again. But what do you feel? Do you feel like Russia will be disadvantaged this year? And how are we feeling about Miss Ukraine, by the way? Politically
Um,
charged countries at the moment.
well, Miss Ukraine for me, I felt that she was one of the strongest before the competition, but then she arrived
Mm-hmm.
looking the way she did, and um,
Mm-hmm.
people because she wasn't as polished as her photos, or
The
how she
photos.
presented herself in the photos. But I'm looking
Mm-hmm.
at her right now in terms of styling. I think she's pretty much there. But both Russia and Ukraine, both of them are fading. Um, I would see Russia sporadically in the background. There's more activity for Miss Ukraine, but even so, Miss Ukraine isn't being pulled left and right for interviews that would have really given us more of a leverage to get to know her. Like, what is she talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Because she talks so much about the situation in Ukraine and then the changes that she'd like to, um, really get into. But we're not hearing that. And I don't know, Luis, if this has something to do with how activities are set up at Miss Universe, if
Hmm.
she's really not shining on her own. Because I feel that
Yeah.
the media folks who are there, the likes of Miss Diane Castillejo, of course, the likes of Brian Javier, who have been interviewing these girls. That's why it got so heated the other day because he was just on our page, like hostile to everyone. I was just saying that maybe these are the folks who would just pick front runners and not really talk to the other girls who
Mm.
may not have like a really strong sash factor. So
Yeah.
maybe it's the
I feel
setup
you.
there.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like, I don't feel like I know her at this point, and
Yeah,
some of the styling, especially the hairstyling, I had a problem with because I felt like it was aging her.
aging
Um,
her.
but Tita, I'm just gonna remove you real quick and bring you back because there's some glitching in the audio. Sometimes
Okay,
that will
okay.
just fix it. Okay, so here we go. Um, I wanted, okay, so I like this question from Justine. Hi, Justine.
Hmm.
Do you think Cambodia will get their first ever placement with Manita?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if that list is in tight, I think
Yes.
that she might, was, one of those happy placements.
Yes. I
Um,
have faith in her.
I'm blown
Mhm.
away by her styling, but that's just styling. But there's recognition on her face, of course, and there's also recognition with the way she speaks. She's very active also on social media. When she's on social
Mhm.
media, she doesn't just focus on herself. She makes sure that, Manita is one of those girls wherein we get our materials from. She's even
Mhm.
more diligent with her social media responsibility by featuring other ladies. So I'm sure the fans from the other countries would also pull materials from Manita. And I think that's very generous of her to share
Yeah.
the limelight with the other ladies. And this was also one of the criticisms for Celeste Cortesi because we would see Celeste's surface in the other girls, but not really on her personal page. So
Mhm.
for me, if you're like that beautiful woman, I mean, ideally, I'd like the camera to be pointed at you all the time, but Manita for me is just really very generous in sharing
Mhm.
the other girls to us.
Agreed. I actually agree. Actually, I'm also, I have a similar perspective to yours in the sense that I still feel like she needs to give us a little bit more because there's a lot of competition. The competition is really strong right now. So when I made my last video about my top 16 as of right now, she was for the first time in all of my hot picks, she was not in the top 16, but I still feel like she can get back there. She has the potential, and if someone can get that first ever placement for Cambodia, it's definitely
Yeah,
Manita.
definitely. Right.
Um, yes, Tita and Lois, will you see Ghana and Nigeria? Do you think they could enter in the top 20 or top
I would
10?
love to, honestly, guys. I was a little bummed though that they cut this to top 16 because initially they said it was going to be top 20, right? It's gonna
Mm-hmm.
be harder, but I hope that they recognize Miss Ghana. Miss Ghana is just so fashion forward. I love her. Um, Miss Nigeria is fresh and she's vibrant, and when she goes there, it's like happy energy every time I see her in the videos and in the photos.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Um, okay, I'm just looking someone that we haven't talked about. By the way, you guys, a lot of the requests we talked about them already. So I know it's been a long live stream, but we will have to go back and listen. Um, let's see something that we haven't mentioned just yet. Do you think Korea has any chance? I mean, Korea just won Miss Earth, so can they
Yeah.
excel at Miss Universe?
You know what? There's brewing recognition for Miss Korea right now. She's very
Hmm.
gracious. Just like Manita, she's also very generous in sharing her interactions with the other girls. Like if the other girls aren't very active on social media, then at least we get to see it from her IG story. So I like the demeanor. It's just that sometimes you guys we can't just bank on niceness. We have to bank on like other
Yeah.
things. She's a ballet dancer. I think she's also rather tall. I'm just not quite sure about everything else, like the important aspect of pageantry, such as training, handling things under pressure. Because sometimes when you have like these Asian girls, for example, that aren't really like the strong sash factor girls, you can see the stark difference between the two, because those who have had rigorous pageant training, they're more aggressive, they're more sure of themselves, and the others who don't really get to have that much of a training program, they just
Mhm.
seem to wing it. So if we are going to talk about Miss Korea right now, I hope that the idea of winging it is a lot stronger. Because if
Mhm.
we look at her compared to the others, who are really so strong in their pageant preparation, definitely is a difference. And it goes beyond dressing well and makeup.
Yes, absolutely. I share the same sentiment about Miss Korea. Stunning and, hoping for the best. You never know. Some
Hoping for
people
the
say
best.
this year we will get many dark horses. So we'll see what Miss Anne, yeah, has in store for us. Question. In an ideal world where pageant admins/content creators get invited as judges for Miss Universe, what are your thoughts on this? Will the personal bias be an issue? Are we going to be judges one day, Tita? What do you think?
Bias. Luis have had the chance to be a judge at a competition.
I've been a judge for a local pageant back in Canada, Mrs. Philippines Montreal, but that has been my only judging experience. And I was a judge for Super Chat this year for both Miss and Mr. Super Chat, but that was remote. And it was just that segment of the pageant, not a judge for the show.
Um, I'd like to share how it is to be a judge in these competitions. So
Mhm.
you sit beside the judges, right? And sometimes the camera would pan to the judges table, and sometimes you'd get a little bit of a clip of judges talking to each other. But in reality, guys, before a judging, you get briefed in a room on how to use your tools, because sometimes there are judging um, events wherein you have to write everything down using pen and paper. Sometimes it involves like more electronics and things like that. So you get briefed. You also get briefed by the organization. The organization gives you an idea on what they are looking for. I have been a judge in other competitions wherein they would say, Tita, it doesn't matter if they don't speak well, we're looking for face value this time. So they give us instructions on what it is that they're looking for. Personal biases will always be there, but you have to understand, guys, if there are 7 judges, you don't get to talk about your scores to the other judges because of the time constraint. I think the only um, chance you would get to talk to someone is if you mess up your count, or if you have some questions about what you're judging. But
Mhm.
conversing and scheming with your fellow judges, that hardly ever happens.
Yeah.
Even if you give your candidate an advantage, just like how um, they were so mad at Kia during Rachel's time, it's not going to translate, guys, because even if you get your girl the highest scores, if the others don't feel the same way, it's not going to yield favorable results for you. And another
Mhm.
thing that I noticed about judging, when you judge a competition, guys, you kind of know. Like when you're there, you kind of know who's the strongest. I don't know if it's a natural thing, but amongst all of the ladies who will be in front of you, you, your seatmate, up until the judge at the very end, will probably be on the same page on who is performing well, on who looks the part. It's just that. The same
That's true.
way that the amigas would talk to each other and zero in on one person and not have like arguments about other favorites.
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe it's a group psychology thing, but once you're there, even if you don't speak the same language, even if you haven't met uh, formally, you kind of know. You will know who's
Mhm.
performing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I don't think it's an influencer slash blogger thing. It's really, everyone has their own agenda, and at the end of the day, as you said, if the organization also is giving you hints of what they're looking for, that will also influence the decision making process. So just to wrap it up, last two countries, maybe just like quick ideas of your thoughts, because I see a lot of comments for them. So I'm getting a lot of Nepal and a lot of Jamaica.
Ooh, Miss Jamaica, I also got to recognize her. I was looking for more photos of her yesterday. Unfortunately, aren't really a lot of photos for her, but I'm glad that you mentioned Jamaica because I've been getting like a lot of DMs. Tita, what about Jamaica? But that's it. What about Jamaica? I kind of want to know more because right now I don't know more. As for Miss Nepal, pageant drama TV, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I have been a supporter of Miss Nepal from the time they started sending these girls. Miss Nepal right now is not the noisiest candidate that Nepal has ever sent. I felt that the peak, or at least my bar, was set with Anshika, the really
Hmm.
tall and lanky one who didn't make it,
Yes,
and then prior to that, the beautiful Manita from Cat's Time. So the
yes,
mere fact that I have also no idea as to who Miss Nepal right now, face wise, style wise, as well as um, what she's fighting for. This is what she has to focus on. There is only like a few days left. And if she
hmm,
isn't really introducing herself to everyone, it's be harder for her to get that recognition. She has to move on her own if the others aren't picking up on her.
yes. I agree. Yeah, at this point, it's really not the time to start, making people fall in love with you or discovering you. It's
Yeah,
the time for
or
you
like
to
wait for
be in
them, yeah, to
competition mode.
recognize you.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Yes, absolutely. So, anyways, I just want to wrap this up. I want to say, first of all, a big, big, big thank you to you, Tita, for giving us over 2 hours of your time. You know how much I
Kuracha.
love you. I love, I love talking to you. I can do this for 5 hours if we shall, but
Woohoo!
we
That's
will
why
do
you're
that
getting part
privately
of the
soon.
blind item because you're always so friendly with me.
Well, that's some are that's so
That's why you're
those are some of the
controversial
perks
as
of being.
well.
Well, it is what it is. It's
It
okay.
is what
I
it
still love
is.
maple syrup.
It's Miss Universe.
Exactly. By the way, you guys, if you are not following Tita just yet, it is the time to go and follow her on her social media, especially on her YouTube channel. Tita will go live at 9 p.m. tonight, so in
Yes.
40 minutes.
Because
If
it's
you
Miss
guys want to ask her
Universe.
more questions, yes, exactly. So if you have more questions, if you want her to elaborate, if you want, just to enjoy the conversation, go and follow her. She is tagged in the title of this video. She is tagged in the description of the video. So you just click there and subscribe. And of course, to everyone else who joined us and stayed until the end, we love you guys. Thank you for, staying with us and being part of the conversation as well. And I'll see you soon with more live streams and more content and
Yes.
more. No rest for me, for us actually.
For us. But it's a
Yeah,
fiesta. So we're doing this for you guys. And of course, it's for us too, because we're fashion fans at the core
yeah,
of
of
it all.
course.
Yeah.
We love it. Okay, my tita. So I will see you very, very soon. Take care. Stay safe. I love you.
Thank you. Thank you so much,
And
you guys. And
thank
yeah,
you.
please join me at 9 p.m. at my channel. That's the Tita Lavinia channel. If you're not sick
Yes.
of this conversation, we're going to go back to my channel and speak more Filipino. But thanks so much, Luis. It's always a pleasure to talk to you the middle of pageant season. I think that we've gone a
Yeah.
long way. This is our third year. Um,
Yes.
yeah, I'll see you this Chinese New Year. We'll eat. We'll
Yes,
eat
I will
more.
see you. I will see you for sure. Everyone, go see
Exactly.
Tita. She's gonna continue this. I'm gonna go get some rest. So,
Bye.
bye.
Thanks,